All right. Well, hey y'all. Uh, First of all, thank you to anyone who's pulling up to this video. This is gonna be the first installment, I guess, of these types of videos. Like I said before, I've been streaming live on Twitch and YouTube every day, doing a bunch of different things from music to beats to mixing and mastering beats and just doing little things to show people that you can really do it, especially in this time when we're all locked up inside. We need more motivation. Like I'm a person that stays inside all the time. I live in the studio. This is like my thing, and I thought quarantine would be something easy. And yeah, I think for anyone, it's just a hard time. It's just to know that you can't do anything. So I think this time now more than ever is when we should really be focusing on trying not to be stagnant and trying to learn more, trying to do more. Uh, just trying to improve overall with everything that we could do and being more self-sufficient in a time where we need to save money and like studio time is so expensive and you're paying for so much more. Like you can cut the fat out of getting studio time. This is an audio engineer myself telling you this. You can cut the fat out of studio time. You can buy yourself your own mic, set up with a little some towels and a little PVC pipe vocal booth you can do yourself. Get a home studio for under, bro, it's so cheap. You can get a home studio and a Shure SM7, cheap as hell, and make amazing music and make amazing mixes, or have amazing bass mixes done and save yourself all that money going to the studio time by just buying that microphone and send it off to an engineer like myself. And you can, it's just, you record in the comfort of your house. You have your own self doing everything, so you're not worrying about anyone else and the things being there. You could just completely let it all go. And on top of it, being more self sufficient in a time like this is really necessary. But let's get to the video. So, this first one I'm going to be doing is, sorry, this first installment is going to be um, how to mix rap vocals. And I wanted to do this from a beginner standpoint first because I feel like a lot of people are, like I said, who are being self-sufficient and trying to do things like this, are doing exactly this. I chose specifically a beat that I got from a friend of mine, and this whole session, it's not a tracked out beat of all the different stems of everything. I don't have control of everything. It's just a one multi-track, like you see for the beat, and just my vocals. I've recorded them all in a place like this, and with not the right sound treatment, with not the right acoustic treatment, like it's all basic home studio recording, but you can still get a great sound out of it, which is what I want to show you guys and explain to you guys. And no matter what people think, there's no right or wrong way to do engineering. There is certain things that you should never do. Obviously, but a lot of this is subjective, and I know people that have gone and spent hundreds of $1,000s and years in school who don't have the ear for this, like someone who's just trained themselves that love it. And I went to school for it and tried all this other stuff, but it doesn't that doesn't make you or do anything. Trust me. And all of this can be learned and taught yourself. And like I said, in this time of quarantine, I just want to help people learn and do more. So, without further ado, here is a beginner's guide to rap vocals or just a rap song, hip hop, lo-fi uh, music, because this is all I do. And I'm going to be doing more things, branching out in more different areas, but let's start with this for right now. I'm not going to try to get too crazy with it, because like I said, I want this to be for beginners. But I'm also going to do another one with stock plugins, stuff like that. I know not a lot of people use Pro Tools, but this, what I'm talking about with EQ, compression, auto tune, leveling, all of that can be done within your own mixes or whatever DAW you use, whether that's Logic or Audacity. Some people record in Pro Tools. I would suggest if you do anything, get Logic and record in there. No matter what you make your beat or do anything else in, you can get Logic. You can get it. I'm not gonna go into that, but you can get it. So first things first, when you get your session and you have everything done, first things first is you should solo the beat and hear the beat and what it's doing, and obviously make sure it's not clipping. What I normally do is, because I have everything going through some other things, I throw it through my limiter track, and on there I sometimes tend to put, it depends on the beat. A lot of the beats I get that are not stemmed out, where I can't control everything and push them to the limits that I want to, I'll throw it through something like this. And the most important thing here, I took it back down so you guys can see, is to put a ceiling on it. This will help prevent, this will help give you a little bit of room and prevent clipping. And the same thing I have on my master track. Nothing being pushed really, I just have it evening back out, but I have a little ceiling on there to prevent clipping. It's just a little trick. But, so you should listen to your beat. Make sure nothing is crazy in the way. And what I say that is normally around like 300 hertz to, I'll show you, around 500 hertz. I normally, this beat was a little more high-endy, so I had to pull a lot out, which actually, that's a little too wide. I had to pull a lot out of the high ends because it was kind of piercing, but I liked it, so I kind of let it rock a little bit, but certain frequencies I had to pull out. Right here is where vocals usually live. Anywhere from like 150, 200 to like 500, 600. It depends on the vocal, the person, the deepness of their voice, if it's a female or a male. It all will vary. But normally I pull a little bit out of here, especially with these lo-fi beats, with the Rode piano, heavy bass songs. Like a lot of, it'll have more low end. And like my voice, you could hear, is very rumbly and very low. So it tends to live in an area like this. And what you don't want is the beat and your vocal, or the 808 and your vocal and the 808 and the bass. You don't want these frequencies colliding and clashing, because then it creates that muddiness. It creates that, not static, but just oversaturation and things. And it just makes it nasty. You don't want frequencies fighting each other, which is like a main thing I say about EQing and songs in general. So once you move on from that, I'd say the next main thing to do is get your levels of everything. And meaning, normally I would start with the beat. If I had a full printed out beat, I would solo all the beats, which I'll do in the next video for you guys. I would solo all the beat tracks and just let them level out. And meaning, say this was a snare, this was a percussion, this was a bass, I would take and watch as they're playing. Got the drugs for the fix. No one seeing my. I would look to see if anything's clipping, like how you saw the levels. Got the drugs for the fix. See how this is a little low? I would try to bring that up maybe, or like if it's supposed to be up a little more, but that's my effects plus, so I'm gonna put that back. But it's really about looking and hearing things. A lot of these visual EQs, like the Pro Q and all these other EQs that show you visually like where your transients are and everything like that, tend to trick you, and you tend to have a placebo effect. And meaning that you'll see that and pull it out and be like, oh, okay, I'm good. I don't need to do anything else. If I could recommend one thing for EQ wise and stuff like that, I would say use an EQ that doesn't show you like this. I'd say knob EQs are the best. But I would say use an EQ that doesn't show you your vocal transients, because that tends to play tricks on you. And the main thing, I'm sorry, I lost my voice, y'all. The main thing is just listening, keeping an ear out for what you need to do and what you need to have either boosted, taken out, or blended together. And that's the main thing that I think EQ, compression, all that does. So the next thing I do for my songs is, when I have all my vocal tracks, which I will move up to be near each other so you can see, I normally send them all to, depending on what it is, a bus. And that bus is my Vox bus. I was just explaining this to my friend earlier, Mark, shout to Mark, he made this beat, I Got Loud. You should go follow him. But buses are basically, so instead of putting an EQ, a compressor, a de-esser, another compressor, another EQ, your expander, all these things, like 6, 7 things on every single track, like how you would right here. And some things aren't necessary, which I'll get into that in a little bit. But instead of putting 6, 7 things and having all these filled of inserts, that takes up your CPU, takes up all of that. What you do is create a just like this. I'll show you. You create a new track. You, depending on what you do, I've been using stereo ones, but you should do mono. There's right and wrong ways to be doing things, but you know, I tend to not listen, and I tend to do what I think sounds better. But either way, you make a new send. No matter what DAW you're in, by the way, this will be the same. If you go to sends, or I think in Logic it's the same. If you go to sends, you make a new send, you make it an aux input and a song bus. And what that does is it sends, what it's doing now is whatever is in this exact, I keep pointing to my screen like you guys can see, my finger. When you have this track getting sent through this send, that send is, it's basically, think of it like you have your, I wish I could route this better in a visual for you, but think of it like this way. You have your audio going right here. If it's just going through what it's going through, it's normal. It's going through your inserts, whatever you have. At the end of it, this is the next routing period for it. Like, that's what's getting sent to another place. So if, say I create the send and it's a new bus right here, what I want to do then is I usually do create a new bus name for it. But say I didn't. Say you go here and you want to create another bus. You make it whatever bus you want to use, because this will normally be blank. Say I just created the new track just like I just did before. New track. New track. And a mono aux input. Sends. See? In Pro Tools, what I do just right there is, which is what you should be doing, it creates the send for you, just like right there, but it also creates the aux track for you. But in case you don't have that option, it would normally do this. What you do is Command S right here for the solo, and you solo save it so you can always hear it no matter what, which is another cool little trick, which you should always have on. But say you just had the send and it didn't make an aux input for you. So what you're doing is, this is basically being sent somewhere, which is, this is the fader for it. You then create how much of the signal you want to send right here, how much of that signal you want to send to whatever this is. So right now, if I make this the send, I go to my bus options and I make a send 10. That means if I have it and I option click to 0, that means the full signal, the full amount of the signal, whatever this track is right here, is getting sent to bus 10. It's literally just being routed right here. And what this does is, instead of putting an instead of putting my EQ, then another compressor, then a compressor, then an 1176, and all that, what you do is, what I do is, and a lot of people do, is one, I send everything to every output is going to my my master bus, which I named something different for this right there. It's basically being sent out that way. So whatever you have on this bus is going to be getting that signal. So what you should be, no matter what you put on here, if it's a compressor or whatever you want to have on here, it will then be getting that signal. And I'll show you a little example of something that I actually have my Vox bus on. For my full Vox bus right here, my full send, I have a 1073. And like I said, I created this name for it. I went, and this was blank before. Like, I just went here and I went, see right here, Vox bus. Oh, that's Tati. Vox bus. And I, just like I did over on the first one, I created a new track, boom, did all that, and it popped up here. And then I went new input, came down here. I renamed it in my IO settings, which you can do, but just make a bus, remember that number of that bus. And then once you have it, you can go and right click it and rename it. So I named it Vox bus, so I always know. Now, I sent all of my vocals, because that's my vocal bus. I sent all of my vocals to this because I want everything to run through there. And it's basically like, I can have an effects bus if I want to have more or less effects. I can have a vocal bus, if I want, like, it just depends on what you want to use. Every engineer will tell you something different. This is what I find to be the best. And this is being sent to here. So let me show you what is getting sent through. It's having that signal, and it's being sent through after that signal to my 1073. I got a Pultec Pro. I did two compressors. I have an 1176 going really light on the beginning, and then an LA2A going a little harder on the end, which is still not crazy, and a de-esser and my expander. And certain things you should always put on your tracks, like I was saying before. In this instance, I would say, you always have to put auto-tune on your tracks. You can send it through your sends, but it gets weird, and I wouldn't recommend it. I would always recommend putting your auto-tune directly on your tracks. I tend to put an EQ on my tracks too once in a while, slightly, for my little sweeps that I do, just because, like I said, I'm in a very untreated room, just like a lot of you guys would be. So I don't have the option of lightly EQing. I kind of have to use subtractive EQ and find the frequencies that are too much, which still is a little much, but like the whole point of lo-fi music and just music in general to me is to get the feel of everything being right. So let me play it for you real fast, actually. Let me stop talking. Real homie shit. 'Cause that's what this music about.
Hey,
And get back to it. Hey.
I be like, fuck who told me to sit, bitch. I be off the shits, lost again in my mix. Got the drugs for the fix. No one's seeing my past. I roll up blunt and smoke it down, but I'll be making it last. So, fuck who told me to sit.
And if you see, right here,
Bitch, I be off the shits, lost
Vox
again
bus.
in my mix. Got the
See it
drugs
going
for the
through?
fix. No one's seeing my past. I roll up blunt and smoke.
And what it's doing is getting that signal sent.
Bitch, I be off the shits, lost again in my.
Shout to my Sans amp. I freaking love that plugin. But let me show you something without heavy.
Hey, so fuck who told me to sit. Bitch, I need me a hit. Got my family going through some surgery, this ain't it. Do this music for shits. With the giggles and all, it's like a party when we.
So what I have going through here is it's going through my Vox bus. And what you also have to realize is every time you send it through a send, it's also going to boost the signal. So even if I had nothing on any of these tracks, which I don't want to do all that right now, but even if I had nothing on these sends, like the Vox bus, this is my reverb, this is my delay, and this is my effects bus. My effects bus has nothing on it. But want to see something? This is my effects bus right here. Just like how I go right here and I make the new track and do that and renamed it. It's exactly what I did, and I have it sent into my effects bus. Before, I had a chorus effect on there. I took it off because I didn't like it. But if you ever want a little bit of extra signal and you don't want to put a compressor or something like that on, putting through a send will give you extra signal. Look, listen.
Hey, so fuck who told me to sit. Bitch, I need me a hit. Got my family going through some surgery, this ain't it. Do this music for shits. With the giggles and all, it's like a party when we come together.
It's getting more signal, and it's slight, but it's so good for helping bring vocals out to the front a little more and just giving it that extra little boost without and distorting the shit out of it. You don't want that. So yeah. So the next thing is, like I said, putting everything through here and kind of finding the right balance between wet and dry with what you're using. And like I said, putting it to your ear. Every record is going to be different. Every beat is going to be different. Every time you sing or rap or anything, your voice is going to change. Your voice is going to be different. It's going to be different in the way the song is. Like, there's no one right way to do it. There's no one right EQ suite. Like, you have to, if I can't stress one thing enough, it's everything is going to be different per song. Don't try to have a template. You can have a great template to start with. That's just one thing I would always recommend, which I'm going to give to you guys in a couple videos. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and Twitch and all that, and make sure you come see me live and all that good stuff, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter for all these updates. But I'm going to be doing a giveaway, and I give away free beats and free mixes. I already gave away my first free beat on stream the other day, but I'm gonna be giving away my vocal template, my Pro Tools template. It's a great starting point for depending on what you do and what you use. But you should never just leave it there. Always go and have a starting point, but you always want to tweak it. Even if you have a starting point with your compressor, you always want to go through and hear.
Need me a hit. Got my family going through some surgery. This ain't it.
And hear where you're affecting things more and less. And find it for a beat. Some beats you might want to cut at 100 hertz. Some beats you might want to cut at 160 hertz, depending on the actual beat and the actual song and your voice and everything else you're doing. It's all important and it's all relevant to the song that you're doing. If I can't stress anything enough, I will stress that. But moving forward. So like I said, that's basically what, I'm not trying to get too involved in advance with it. That's a basic send. So sending, like I said, is say you have, listen to the unsent vocal.
So fuck who told me to sit. Bitch, I need me a
This is
hit.
just my regular
Got my
vocal.
family going through some surgery. This
Then
ain't
my
it.
vocal bus.
Do this music for shits with the giggles and all. It's like a party when we come together. Ashes
Reverb.
to fall, but while we look for the same, never
Delay.
run from the pain. Look, my demons in.
And then that last effects bus. You see it when I unmuted that last effects bus, it gave it that final little punch through to sit in the front, and that effects bus has nothing on it. It's just a send with nothing on it, but it's just giving it that extra little bit of signal, which is, I'm sure a lot of engineers would frown upon that, but you know. Another little trick right here is making sure you go through and crossfade and fade at the right places. And depending on what you want to use, if you're in Pro Tools and you fade like that while it's still active, Command F, and you can come down here and do whatever type of S curve or whatever you want. I tend to use that. It depends on what you want to do. If you want it to come in gradually, if you want it to just cut off, it's all different. I tend to not do it on my ad-lib tracks because I have a lot of subtle little things in the back that I do, and I'll use an expander to cut out a lot of the background noise. But like I said, this is all imperfect recording, imperfect mixing, imperfect mastering. A lot of kids or people that are going to be watching this or that make music in general, especially now, none of y'all can go to studios. None of y'all can go in a professional thing unless you're got real money and you got a nice ass professional studio, $100,000s of dollars built to your house. Then good for you. This video obviously isn't for you. Or maybe it is, but I don't know. Most of us are in a little room or in our room or in a little closet or something, which is another thing. Do not record your vocals in a small closet. That's the number one mistake that people make, which I'm going to make a new video on the top 5 mistakes people make in trying to record themselves at home to send to an engineer or just to do themselves and mix everything themselves. The number one thing is that people think you want a small little vocal booth and that's like the place to be. And I made that mistake when I was a kid too. Like I always just pictured it that way, and it's not. You don't want that. You want the more amount of room you can get and then treat that room. But that's another subject. Yeah. The basic of what I was just saying is have your beat, which like I said, a lot of basic things that we're going to be doing is you're going to just be getting a beat from a producer. It's a little 2-track like this, and then you're just going to be recording on it. So get the beat, EQ it, try to pull out a little bit of those frequencies that might be too much. Usually your vocal sits around here. Take a listen and then put it back after once you have your vocals and you've mixed everything, and make sure it does still sit. If it's missing high end or low end, make sure you add it back in. If it's not too much, you don't want to take out too much. That's another huge thing. You don't want to deaden whatever you're using. Then the next thing is going through and getting your levels, making sure nothing's clipping, making sure everything sits in the mix properly, and then tracking your vocals. Once you've tracked your vocals, I'd say the best thing to do is to then send those vocals to your vocal bus. On your vocal bus, I'll build a new little vocal bus for you real quick so you can see. And I'm just going to build one for you. Screw it. So what you should do, Oxbus, YouTube. What you should be doing is putting on this vocal bus, solo safing, command, click. So if you solo this, it still plays with your effects. Otherwise, it won't. Sending the full signal to that vocal bus, and depending on what you want, some people do, some people don't. That's what I do. The order of plugins in which you have, like the order that you have it going through, is important, in case you didn't know that. Like I said, this is a beginner's video, so I want you guys to know that. And everyone will tell you something different, and everyone will have a couple things that they always stay the same with. Normally I have a high pass filter on, and I have a high pass filter, and I record with an EQ going through my my UAD mixer. So I tend to not put too much de-essing on there, but a lot of people will start with de-essing and then go to compressor and then everything else. I start with the pre. I start with my Pultec Pro next, because I can take those high frequencies and those frequencies that I don't want and do want and boost and cut where I need to, which is like a basic any other EQ. Then, like I said, I then take 2 compressors instead of using one. Instead of making all the heavy lifting be done by one compressor and it sounds like it's being compressed super heavy, I try to split the work between 2. And I really love the 1176 for vocals, and I love the LA2A. And then, yeah. And I also have a de-esser and then an expander, but I also put them on my tracks individually as well. And like I said, with a little bit of EQ. So I'm not going to get too into everything, because like I said, this is a very basic setup for just using and setting up your rap vocals, setting up everything, getting a basic mix, and then taking it from this point to doing what you want to do with it. I hate videos and producers or engineers that tell you this is the way you should do it, this is how you have to do it, and this is the right way. Because that's just not true. Everything you record in every single space and every single record, everything is going to be different. So doing things, obviously not doing the wrong stupid things like throwing 6 distortions on, like it's just like common sense stuff, which you will come to learn as you go. But really just listening to everything that you do, making sure you play back. It's like a chef cooking his food. You don't cook the whole meal without tasting everything a little bit. You take little bites of things, you take little sips of things. Oh, like that has too much salt, that has not enough, like, you know what I mean? Like it's a weird comparison, but it's true. You always need to be tasting your fucking record and your meal while you're doing this stuff. And if you don't, it's going to come out at the end and sound like you haven't listened to it, or you haven't, just like you had a bad meal. It's going to smell or taste like it hasn't been cared for, because it hasn't, and you haven't checked on it the whole time. You need to check every step of the way and do things to your ear and the right way. So the right way for you, I mean. So like I said, man, levels are like the most important thing, then clarity, and just making sure those those frequencies don't clash. If I could, like I said, put anything to the light for you guys, it's don't overthink the mix, especially on what a lot of people do nowadays, are simple songs. Less is more with this type of thing. And I'm going to do an advanced copy of this same, I'm going to do an advanced copy of this video and go more in depth with my actual like settings on my 1073 and Y, and you know everything. I'll show you everything going through after, but like even that doesn't show you. You don't want to copy my settings, because this is specifically for how my vocal is set up, for how my vocal is hitting and going through, and yours is not going to be the same as mine. So again, take what I say with a grain of salt and do it to your own record, and if I can say anything, the biggest thing is try to make a vocal bus, use these sends, and use parallel compression as your friend, because all of this is your friend. I promise you. You do not want to be fighting the frequencies. You do not want to be trying to fight loudness on top of loudness on top of loudness on top of loudness on top of frequencies on top of frequencies on top of frequencies. You want to make things blend, sit together, have that good, and leave headroom, so then once it sounds good, then you push that signal, and that's what gets mastered, and that's what gets pushed. And you don't want to push if you have a song. That's what I always try to tell people that send me songs. They're like, yo, can you mix or can you master my song? And they'll send me the track, and I always tell them, no offense, but if it's mixed horribly, mastering will only bring that out further. You can't send a terribly mixed song to someone to master and expect that's going to clean it up, because that has to be taken care of in the mix. If the mix isn't done properly and the things don't sit properly, it's never going to be pushed right. You're only going to be enhancing and giving more light to those bad frequencies or those bad, like, you know what I mean? And no matter what, even if you're going for a distorted sound, like how a lot of my favorite music isn't mixed the best at all, but they knew and they did it properly. There's a right way to have bad mixing, which is such an oxymoron and such a weird way to do things. But you don't have to have the best Pro Tools. You don't have to have the best gear and interface and microphone and all this other stuff. You can just have what you have, but make sure you do it right. Even if things are clipping, like some of my favorite music is distorted and clipped and nasty and like it sounds crazy, but it's still, the engineer and whoever did it still took time to listen to it and make sure, like, even if it's harsh, it's still listen. Like it's hard to explain, but that's why I just want to like, if I could really just put something to the forefront for you guys, it's listen to what you do. Always listen back. Keep soloing stuff. Solo your vocal. Work on it. Do your EQ sweeps, and then make sure it's cool. Get it to a place you like, and then unmute it. Got my family going through some surgery. This ain't it. And make sure it sits properly, because you could be doing something like this and be like, oh,
so fuck who told me to sit, bitch, I need me.
Oh, like that sounds good, right?
Got my family going through some surgery. This ain't it. Do this music for shits.
But then you bring it back and it's way under the beat. And it depends. Some people like their vocals directly in the front of things, super loud, super in the front. Some people like them tucked back a little more in the mix. It's all dependent on what you want to do, and you mix and master according to that. No right way to do everything, no wrong way to do everything. Just listen back and follow the basic steps of things. There's basic rules you should follow, and then from there, you can get more advanced as you want. And that's why I'll leave it for this one. And I'll go into more advanced things. I'm going to do a beat tutorial, beat breakdown, mixing, like full everything else. And like I said, I'm not no platinum engineer. I'm just a person that does this shit, and I'm still learning, and I'm trying to learn and grow along with everyone else that's in a time like this. It's just weird and scary, and music and making music is the only thing that really helps me get my mind off it. And if I can help people, because all I want to do, if anyone's ever, those people who follow me and know me, they know all I want to do is help with music to everything else. So if I can help create music, to make the music, to get the music out and make it better, like, this is all I want to do. It's a win-win-win-win-win for me. So, make sure you go follow me. Make sure you sub to the channel for more. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that. Follow me at Dubs Music on all socials for more updates and everything, for the giveaways, to see when I go live on YouTube as well as Twitch. I'll be doing more giveaways and things for free. But yeah, shout to I Got Loud, shout to Mark, shout to this song. And Self Conflict is releasing on April 17th, 20 song album. And yeah, I can't wait. There's a lot of big things coming in the future, so I hope this helped a little bit for y'all. I hope I could give a little insight. If there's any other questions or anything else you guys have that I didn't cover, or you want to see in a YouTube video next, like how to export stems from a beat, or how to export stems to for a mixing engineer. Like, if you have any other questions, no matter what you think it is, please ask me. Please leave it in the comments below. Let me know what you think. And I appreciate you guys to death. I really do. Thank you for pulling up, and I'll see y'all next time.